The first warning came not with a thunderous explosion, but with a series of quiet electronic whispers. Major Rebecca Miller leaned forward, her weathered hands hovering over a holographic display that seemed to breathe with cascading data streams. The underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountain complex hummed with a tension that felt different from any previous global alert. Quantum sensors, a cutting-edge network developed after decades of paranoid military research, had detected something impossible. Strange gravitational anomalies were forming at the edge of the solar system, signatures that defied conventional astrophysical understanding. These weren't natural phenomena. They were mechanical, deliberate. Confirm the readings, Miller barked to her team of specialists. Young technicians moved with practiced efficiency, their fingers dancing across quantum-linked interfaces. Each verification only solidified the impossible truth. Something massive was approaching Earth. Dr. Elizabeth Rodriguez, the lead astrophysicist, pulled up a three-dimensional projection that made the entire command center go silent. What had begun as a pinprick of distortion was rapidly expanding. A geometrically precise formation of objects that suggested nothing short of an organized invasion fleet. "They're not even trying to be subtle," muttered Colonel James Harrison, a veteran of multiple international conflict zones. His eyes narrowed, studying the rapidly developing tactical overlay. "This isn't an exploration mission. This is a complete military deployment." The global communication networks had already begun to buzz. Satellite imagery from multiple countries confirmed what the quantum sensors had detected. Massive spacecraft, each easily dwarfing entire metropolitan areas, were systematically positioning themselves around Earth's orbital range. Their design spoke of a civilization that had long ago mastered interstellar travel, with hull structures that seemed to blend mechanical engineering with something almost organic. Major Miller accessed the preliminary xenolinguistic analysis. The alien transmission was both a demand and a statement of absolute certainty. Translated through multiple quantum computational filters, the message was chillingly direct. "Inhabitants of planetary designation E472, your technological development has reached a point of marginal utility. The Zarkon Imperium claims this planetary system. Surrender is the only rational response. Resistance will result in complete systemic elimination. You have 12 standard cycles to comply." A clock began counting down on the main display. In government command centers around the world, emergency protocols triggered simultaneously. But this was not the fractured response of previous global conflicts. Something fundamental had changed in human civilization, a readiness born from decades of preparing for the ultimate unknown. In Beijing, military strategists began coordinating with research teams. In Moscow, advanced weapon development centers activated hidden protocols. Washington, London, New Delhi, each major global power moved with a synchronicity that would have been impossible just decades earlier. "They're broadcasting on all known communication spectrums," Dr. Rodriguez noted, her voice a mix of scientific fascination and underlying tension. "But they're leaving no room for dialogue. This is a pure statement of conquest." Colonel Harrison walked to a secure communication terminal. "We need to mobilize everything, not just military. Every single resource we have." Major Miller's mind was already several steps ahead. The alien transmission contained more than just a threat. It revealed information. Their language structure, the computational complexity of their communication, the very nature of their approach, all of it was data. And humanity was exceptionally good at turning data into advantage. "Begin full spectrum analysis," she commanded. "I want to know everything about these Archon, their communication patterns, their technological signatures, their psychological approach to conflict. Everything." The underground command center transformed. What had moments ago been a monitoring station was now becoming the nerve center of humanity's first true extraterrestrial defense strategy. Quantum computers began processing the alien transmission, breaking down every mathematical and linguistic nuance. Outside, the world continued its daily rhythm, unaware that first contact had just occurred. But within this mountain complex, a different reality was taking shape, a reality where humanity was about to show that being underestimated was the most dangerous mistake an invader could make. 12 standard cycles, 12 opportunities to prove that Earth was far more than just another planetary conquest. The emergency global summit convened within hours of the alien transmission. Unlike previous international conferences, this one carried a palpable electricity of unified purpose. Representatives from every major world power gathered in a secure underground facility, their differences momentarily dissolved by the existential threat hanging above Earth. Dr. Elizabeth Rodriguez stood before a massive holographic display, her presentation cutting through diplomatic pleasantries with surgical precision. The Zarkon transmission reveals more about their weaknesses than their strengths, she began, highlighting complex computational analyses that transformed the alien ultimatum into a strategic roadmap. In the Rocky Mountain Research Complex, teams of scientists worked in fevered collaboration. Dr. Marcus Williams, a brilliant quantum physicist, had already begun developing innovative countermeasures. His team combined expertise from seemingly unrelated disciplines, cybernetics, xenolinguistics, advanced material science, and psychological warfare. "We're not just preparing to defend," Dr. Williams explained to his core research team. "We're preparing to understand and ultimately outmaneuver an alien civilization that assumes we're predictable." Satellite networks across the globe began a coordinated data collection effort. Every radio telescope, every advanced sensor array, every computational resource was redirected toward understanding the approaching Zarkon fleet. Universities that had previously competed for research grants now shared real-time data without hesitation. In the Pentagon's Strategic Command Center, Colonel James Harrison coordinated a global military restructuring that defied traditional warfare concepts. Special forces units from different countries began integrated training programs. They studied the limited data from the alien transmission, creating adaptive combat strategies that emphasized human unpredictability. "Our strength isn't in matching their technology," Harrison briefed a multinational special operations team. "Our strength is our ability to adapt faster than they can predict. Every soldier here is now part of a living, breathing adaptive network." Underground research facilities became crucibles of innovation. In a secured laboratory beneath Silicon Valley, a team led by Dr. Rachel Chen developed experimental quantum communication interfaces. Their goal was ambitious: create a communication system that could potentially disrupt or decode Zarkon transmission protocols. Meanwhile, global economic systems underwent a rapid transformation. Manufacturing centers retooled with unprecedented speed. Automobile factories became weapon production lines. Technology companies redirected entire research divisions toward defensive and offensive technologies. Space agencies from multiple countries accelerated dormant defense satellite programs. What had once been theoretical research now became urgent development. Prototype weapon systems that had existed only in classified documents were rushed into production. Dr. Rodriguez's team made a critical breakthrough. By analyzing the mathematical patterns in the alien transmission, they identified potential vulnerabilities in the Zarkon communication infrastructure. "They're technologically advanced," she reported to the global strategy team, "but they rely on extremely rigid communication protocols. That's a weakness we can exploit." In Tokyo, a collaborative team of robotics engineers and military strategists developed modular combat systems designed for maximum adaptability. These weren't traditional weapons, but complex adaptive platforms that could reconfigure themselves based on real-time battlefield conditions. Major Rebecca Miller oversaw the integration of these various efforts. Her background in special operations gave her a unique perspective on how to transform technological innovations into practical combat strategies. She understood that humanity's greatest weapon would be its ability to learn and adapt faster than the invaders could respond. "We're not preparing for a war," she told her closest advisors. "We're preparing to redefine the entire concept of interstellar conflict." The 12-cycle countdown became a global catalyst. Educational institutions worldwide began rapid training programs. Civilians with specialized skills were quickly integrated into the global defense network. Computer programmers, network engineers, material scientists, everyone had a potential role in the coming conflict. Deep in the Rocky Mountain complex, Dr. Williams stood before a massive quantum computational array. Lines of complex code scrolled across multiple holographic displays, each representing a different approach to understanding and potentially countering the alien technology. "They think they know us," he muttered, watching the complex algorithms dance. "They have no idea what's coming." As the first cycle of the alien ultimatum ticked away, humanity transformed. No longer a collection of competing nations, it became a single, adaptive organism, preparing to face a threat that would either destroy them or change the course of galactic history forever. The first wave of Zarkon assault struck with mathematical precision. Massive energy weapons carved through the atmosphere, their destructive potential calculated to maximum efficiency. Entire city blocks disappeared in moments, reduced to molten glass and atomic dust. Major Rebecca Miller watched from the underground command center as the initial attack unfolded. Satellite feeds showed massive alien vessels positioning themselves with cold, mechanical accuracy. Their weapons were designed to eliminate infrastructure, communication networks, and military installations in a single devastating stroke. But humanity had been waiting. In Chicago, what appeared to be a defenseless metropolitan area suddenly transformed. Skyscrapers revealed hidden defensive systems. Adaptive camouflage panels dropped away, revealing layers of electromagnetic shielding and weapon emplacements. Streets that moments ago looked like ordinary urban landscapes became kill zones, with subterranean defensive systems rising from carefully concealed positions. Colonel James Harrison's voice cut through the command center's tension. "Decentralized response protocols are active. We're not fighting like a traditional military anymore." The alien assault had a fatal miscalculation. They expected a centralized military structure, a single point of command to eliminate. Instead, they found a living, adaptive organism of human resistance. In Los Angeles, neighborhood watch groups transformed into coordinated defensive units. Community centers became emergency command posts. Civilian communication networks, developed over decades of digital interconnectedness, now became a sophisticated early warning and coordination system that the Zarkon computational models could not predict. Dr. Elizabeth Rodriguez monitored the initial engagement, her fingers dancing across quantum computational interfaces. "Their attack patterns are completely predictable," she noted. "They're applying a standard galactic conquest protocol that assumes total technological superiority." Beneath the streets of New York, Dr. Marcus Williams watched as experimental defensive technologies came to life. Quantum-entangled communication networks created instantaneous battlefield coordination that defied traditional military communication limitations. Small, adaptive drone swarms emerged from hidden urban infrastructure, their AI systems learning and responding to alien attack patterns in milliseconds. The Zarkon discovered something fundamental about human warfare. Every apparent weakness was actually a carefully designed trap. In Tokyo, a team of robotics engineers had developed modular defensive platforms that could reconfigure themselves in real time. What looked like ordinary construction equipment transformed into sophisticated defensive systems. Cargo containers became mobile weapon platforms. Civilian vehicles integrated with military communication networks, becoming part of a living, breathing defensive grid. Major Miller tracked the global response. "We're not defending," she told her command team. "We're demonstrating." The alien fleet began to realize something was wrong. Their computational models predicted total urban collapse within the first hour of assault. Instead, they encountered a nightmare of human adaptability. Every destroyed building became actionable intelligence. Every lost communication node was immediately replaced by redundant systems. Experimental energy dispersal technologies, developed in secret research facilities, began to neutralize the most devastating alien weapon systems. The Zarkon discovered that human technological innovation was not a linear progression, but a chaotic, unpredictable adaptive mechanism. Colonel Harrison coordinated a global counterintelligence operation. Captured alien communication fragments were immediately analyzed, their computational patterns dismantled and studied. What the Zarkon believed was a secure communication network became a conduit for human intelligence gathering. In the Rocky Mountain complex, Dr. Rodriguez's team began translating alien weapon signatures into defensive protocols. They're using a computational model that assumes total information control, she reported. But information, for humans, is fluid. It's alive. The first hours of the assault revealed a fundamental truth. The Zarkon had prepared for a war against a traditional, predictable opponent. Instead, they found themselves fighting something entirely different, a species that transformed conflict itself into an art of survival. As the first cycle of assault concluded, the alien fleet had destroyed significant urban infrastructure. But they had gained nothing. Worse, they had revealed critical information about their own capabilities, their communication systems, their fundamental approach to warfare. Major Miller looked at the global tactical display. Destruction was evident. But so was something else, a network of human resistance that was already learning, adapting, preparing to turn this initial assault into the most devastating mistake the Zarkon had ever made. "Welcome to Earth," she muttered. "The real war is just beginning." The research facility beneath Silicon Valley buzzed with an intensity that defied conventional scientific methodology. Dr. Rachel Chen stood at the center of a breakthrough that would redefine human technological warfare. Fragments of captured alien technology lay spread across quantum analysis platforms, each piece becoming a puzzle that humanity was solving in real time. "We're not just reverse engineering," Dr. Chen explained to her international team of researchers. "We're completely reimagining the fundamental principles of their technology." What the Zarkon considered their most advanced systems became classroom material for human innovation. Quantum computing teams worked around the clock, breaking down alien communication protocols, weapon signatures, and energy transfer mechanisms. Each discovered secret became another weapon in humanity's rapidly expanding arsenal. Major Rebecca Miller arrived at the facility, her military background providing a strategic overlay to the scientific innovation. "Every piece of technology they bring," she told the researchers, "is another opportunity for us to learn and adapt." In a secured laboratory, Dr. Marcus Williams demonstrated an experimental weapons system that defied traditional understanding of combat technology. Adaptive nanomaterial structures could instantaneously reconfigure themselves, creating defensive and offensive capabilities that changed faster than an enemy could comprehend. Their computational models assume static technological capabilities, Williams explained, showing a demonstration where a small device transformed through multiple configurations in milliseconds. "We're creating technology that thinks, adapts, and evolves." Global manufacturing centers had transformed overnight. Automobile factories now produced modular combat platforms. Technology companies redirected entire research divisions toward defensive innovations. What had once been theoretical research became urgent development. Colonel James Harrison coordinated with international military research teams. Special operations units became test platforms for the most experimental technologies. Soldiers worked alongside scientists, providing real-world feedback that accelerated development cycles. Dr. Elizabeth Rodriguez's team made a critical breakthrough in communication interference. By analyzing the mathematical patterns in Zarkon transmission protocols, they developed quantum communication disruptors that could potentially blind entire sections of the alien fleet's communication network. They rely on extremely rigid communication infrastructures, Rodriguez reported during a global strategy briefing. Their strength is also their greatest weakness. In Tokyo, a collaborative team of robotics engineers developed combat systems that redefined mobile warfare. These weren't traditional weapons, but complex adaptive platforms that could reconfigure themselves based on real-time battlefield conditions. A single combat unit could transform from a defensive shield to an offensive weapon in microseconds. The underground research facilities became crucibles of human innovation. Computer programmers worked alongside quantum physicists. Material scientists collaborated with neural network experts. The traditional boundaries of scientific disciplines dissolved in the face of an existential threat. Dr. Chen's team discovered something profound about the captured alien technology. The Zarkon's computational systems, while advanced, followed predictable logical patterns. Human creativity introduced deliberate chaos, unpredictability that no computational model could fully anticipate. They're expecting us to fight like a traditional military, Major Miller told her strategic planning team. Instead, we're turning warfare into an art form of constant adaptation. Experimental drone swarms developed in the Rocky Mountain complex demonstrated this philosophy perfectly. Each individual unit contained adaptive AI that could learn and respond to battlefield conditions in real time. What appeared to be a simple collection of flying devices became a living, thinking defensive network. Colonel Harrison oversaw the integration of these technologies into military strategies. "We're not just developing weapons," he explained. "We're creating an entirely new approach to conflict." Global communication networks became more than just information highways. They transformed into sophisticated adaptive systems that could reconfigure themselves instantaneously. A communication node destroyed in one location would be replaced by multiple redundant systems before the enemy could even recognize the initial loss. Dr. Williams stood before a massive quantum computational array, watching complex algorithms dance across holographic displays. Each line of code represented another layer of human innovation, another method of turning the aliens' perceived technological superiority into a critical vulnerability. "They think they understand our technology," he muttered, watching the intricate computational patterns. "They have no idea what's coming." As the research continued, a fundamental truth became clear. The Zarkon had encountered a species that didn't just adapt to technological challenges. They transformed those challenges into opportunities for unprecedented innovation. Humanity was no longer just defending. They were rewriting the very rules of technological warfare. The interrogation room was designed to be both a scientific laboratory and a psychological battleground. Dr. Elizabeth Rodriguez stood behind a one-way observation window, watching as a captured Zarkon soldier underwent the most sophisticated psychological analysis in human history. Colonel James Harrison approached, his military bearing softened by an intellectual curiosity. "What are we learning?" he asked. Rodriguez's eyes never left the observation window. "Everything," she responded quietly. The Zarkon soldier, a mid-level tactical officer named Curl, had been captured during a failed ground assault in the Australian outback. What the alien believed would be a simple interrogation was becoming something far more complex. Holographic displays surrounded the containment area, each screen displaying fragments of human history that challenged everything the Zarkon understood about warfare and civilization. Major Rebecca Miller had personally designed the psychological approach. The interrogation was less about extracting military information and more about systematically dismantling the aliens' understanding of humanity. Scenes of human history played across the displays. The construction of the pyramids, the moon landing, the recovery from world wars. Moments of incredible technological achievement interspersed with scenes of profound human compassion. Images of rescue workers saving lives after natural disasters. Scientists collaborating across national boundaries. Artists creating beauty in the midst of conflict. Kroll watched, unable to look away. Dr. Marcus Williams monitored the psychological response through a complex array of synapsological sensors. "They've never encountered a species that documents its own vulnerabilities so openly," he noted to the team. "Most galactic civilizations hide their weaknesses. We broadcast ours like a challenge." The psychological warfare went deeper. Captured communication logs revealed the Zarkon's fundamental misconception about human nature. They saw civilization as a linear progression of technological achievement. Humanity was something far more complex, a chaotic, unpredictable network of creativity, resilience, and unexpected connection. Rodriguez explained the strategy to her colleagues. "We're not just showing them our history. We're demonstrating the fundamental nature of human consciousness. Our strength isn't in our technology. It's in our ability to transform, to find opportunity in destruction, to create meaning from chaos. In another secured facility, linguists and communication specialists worked on breaking down the psychological barriers of the Zarkon communication systems. It wasn't just about translation. It was about understanding the fundamental cognitive structures that shaped their perception of conflict and survival. The interrogation of Curl continued. Each human historical moment was carefully selected to challenge the aliens' understanding. Scenes of human conflict were followed by scenes of unexpected cooperation. Moments of technological achievement were contextualized with stories of individual human sacrifice and creativity. Colonel Harrison watched the psychological deconstruction with a strategic eye. "We're fighting a war on multiple levels," he said. "Physical combat is just the surface." Dr. Rachel Chen's team developed advanced neural interface technologies that could potentially decode the deeper psychological patterns of the Zarkon communication systems. What appeared to be simple language translation was actually a complex process of understanding cognitive structures. Curl began to show signs of psychological destabilization. The human approach was fundamentally incomprehensible. A species that documented its own failures with the same enthusiasm as its achievements. A civilization that found strength in apparent vulnerability. Zarkon had conquered countless civilizations by identifying and exploiting their fundamental weaknesses. Humanity presented something entirely different, a species that transformed weakness into strength, that found opportunity in the most impossible circumstances. Major Miller understood the deeper strategy. "We're not just fighting," she told her team. "We're proving a fundamental truth about our existence." As days passed, the psychological analysis revealed critical insights. The Zarkon viewed conflict as a mathematical equation, technological superiority multiplied by strategic efficiency. Humanity introduced an entirely new variable, unpredictable creativity. Dr. Rodriguez made a profound observation during a global strategy briefing. "They're beginning to understand something terrifying," she said. "We're not just fighting to survive. We're fighting to prove a point about the nature of consciousness itself." Curl, the captured Zarkon soldier, represented something more than a prisoner of war. He was becoming a bridge of understanding, a living testament to humanity's most profound weapon. The psychological warfare continued, and with each passing moment, the Zarkon discovered that they had encountered a species unlike any in galactic history. Humanity was rewriting the very definition of conflict. The counteroffensive began like a complex symphony of destruction and precision. Major Rebecca Miller coordinated from the Underground Command Center, her tactical display showing a global network of human resistance that defied every conventional understanding of military engagement. Small, highly mobile strike teams moved with a fluidity that confused Zarkon computational tracking systems. What appeared to be isolated attacks were actually part of a massive, interconnected strategy that constantly reshaped itself. Each lost unit became an opportunity for tactical recalibration, each destroyed position a chance to learn and adapt. Colonel James Harrison had spent years preparing for an unconventional global conflict. The special operations units he had trained were nothing like traditional military squads. They were living networks, each soldier a node of intelligence that could independently make strategic decisions while remaining part of a larger adaptive system. "We're not fighting like they expect," Harrison explained to his command team. "We're turning the entire planet into a single, responsive combat organism." In the Pacific, a team of naval specialists used experimental underwater technologies to transform oceanic environments into complex defensive networks. Underwater drones, developed from years of marine research, became sophisticated attack platforms that could strike alien vessels from unexpected angles. Dr. Marcus Williams watched as his experimental combat systems demonstrated their true potential. Adaptive nanomaterial platforms could reconfigure themselves faster than the Zarkon computational systems could analyze. A defensive shield could become an offensive weapon in microseconds. A communication node could transform into a weapon platform in the blink of an eye. Dr. Elizabeth Rodriguez's communication interference teams had discovered something profound about the alien fleet's weakness. Their highly structured communication networks became a critical vulnerability. By introducing deliberate chaos into their transmission protocols, human teams could create massive blind spots in the alien defensive systems. They expect linear communication, Rodriguez explained during a global strategy briefing. We're giving them quantum uncertainty. In the Australian outback, a team of Special Forces operators demonstrated the new approach to warfare. What looked like a simple patrol became a complex adaptive network. Each soldier carried technologies that could communicate, adapt, and respond faster than traditional military command structures. Major Miller tracked the global engagement, watching as human creativity transformed every battlefield limitation into an opportunity. Captured alien technologies were immediately reverse-engineered, their computational systems dismantled and studied. What the Zarkon considered their most advanced weapons became training materials for human innovation. Dr. Rachel Chen's research teams worked in parallel with combat units, providing real-time technological adaptations. A weapon system destroyed in one location would be immediately countered by multiple redundant technologies developed in hidden research facilities around the globe. The Zarkon began to realize they had fundamentally misunderstood their opponent. Humanity was not a traditional military force. It was a living, thinking, constantly evolving network of resistance. Experimental drone swarms demonstrated this philosophy perfectly. Each individual unit contained adaptive AI that could learn from battlefield conditions in real time. What appeared to be simple flying devices became a sophisticated, thinking defensive network that could reconfigure itself faster than any computational model could predict. Colonel Harrison oversaw the integration of these technologies into a global defensive strategy. We're not just developing weapons, he explained. We're creating an entirely new approach to conflict. In orbit, experimental space platforms developed in secret research facilities began to demonstrate their true potential. What the Zarkon believed were simple communication satellites became complex defensive networks that could interfere with alien fleet movements. Dr. Williams stood before a massive quantum computational array, watching complex algorithms dance across holographic displays. Each line of code represented another method of turning the aliens' perceived technological superiority into a critical vulnerability. They think they understand our technology, he muttered, watching the intricate computational patterns. They have no idea what's coming. Major Miller understood the deeper strategy. Each engagement was more than a military operation. It was a demonstration of human potential, a proof that creativity, adaptability, and unexpected innovation could transform any seemingly insurmountable challenge. The counteroffensive continued, and with each passing moment, the Zarkon discovered they had encountered a species that didn't just fight to survive. They fought to redefine the very nature of conflict itself. Humanity was no longer just defending. They were transforming warfare into an art of constant, unpredictable innovation. The final assault came with a mathematical precision that betrayed the Zarkon's fundamental misunderstanding of human nature. Admiral Krelix, supreme military leader of the invasion force, committed every remaining resource to what he believed would be the ultimate destruction of human resistance. Major Rebecca Miller watched the approaching fleet from the underground command center. Holographic displays showed a mathematical nightmare of alien weaponry, a force that had conquered countless civilizations with cold, calculated efficiency. They're bringing everything, Colonel James Harrison observed, his voice a mix of professional assessment and underlying excitement. Dr. Elizabeth Rodriguez's communication analysis team had been preparing for this moment. Every piece of intercepted Zarkon communication, every fragment of their transmission protocols, had been meticulously studied. What the aliens believed was a secure communication network was about to become their greatest vulnerability. They're operating on a computational model that assumes total information control, Dr. Rodriguez explained to her team. We're about to show them the true meaning of chaos. The global defensive network that humanity had been constructing revealed its true potential. What appeared to be isolated defensive positions were actually a complex, adaptive system that could reconfigure itself faster than any computational model could predict. Dr. Marcus Williams' experimental weapon systems came to life. Quantum-entangled defense platforms could instantaneously communicate and adapt. A weapon destroyed in one location would be immediately countered by multiple redundant technologies developed in hidden research facilities around the globe. In orbit, experimental space platforms demonstrated capabilities that defied traditional understanding of military technology. Communications satellites transformed into weapon systems. Defensive shields became offensive platforms. The very fabric of human technological innovation became a weapon more devastating than any energy cannon. Admiral Krelix's computational models predicted total human collapse within the first hour of the assault. Instead, he encountered a living, thinking defensive network that transformed every apparent weakness into an opportunity for counterattack. Major Miller coordinated the global response with a precision that seemed almost prescient. "We're not just defending," she told her command team. "We're demonstrating." Dr. Rachel Chen's research teams worked in real time, providing instantaneous technological adaptations. Captured alien weapon systems were immediately analyzed, their computational cores dismantled and studied. What the Zarkon considered their most advanced technologies became training materials for human innovation. The battle transformed the solar system into a complex battlefield that defied traditional understanding of conflict. Experimental drone swarms moved with a collective intelligence that seemed almost organic. Each individual unit contained adaptive AI that could learn and respond to battlefield conditions in microseconds. Colonel Harrison oversaw the integration of multiple defensive strategies. Underwater combat platforms in the Pacific worked in concert with orbital defensive systems. Urban defensive networks communicated with experimental ground combat units. The entire planet became a single, responsive combat organism. Admiral Krelix began to realize the fundamental error in the Zarkon's approach. Humanity was not a traditional military force to be conquered. It was a living, thinking network of resistance that could transform any technological limitation into an opportunity for innovation. The experimental quantum communication disruptors developed by Dr. Rodriguez's team created massive blind spots in the alien fleet's defensive capabilities. Entire sections of their communication network became instantaneously compromised, leaving massive battleships vulnerable and isolated. Dr. Williams watched the engagement through a quantum computational array, each line of code representing another method of turning the aliens' perceived technological superiority into a critical vulnerability. "They think they understand our technology," he muttered. "They have no idea what's coming." The final assault became a demonstration of human potential. Each destroyed defensive position became an opportunity for tactical recalibration. Each lost unit became a chance to learn and adapt. The Zarkon discovered they had encountered a species that didn't just fight to survive. They fought to redefine the very nature of conflict. Major Miller understood the deeper strategy. This was more than a military engagement. It was a proof of concept, a demonstration that creativity, adaptability, and unexpected innovation could transform any seemingly insurmountable challenge. As the battle reached its climax, humanity proved something fundamental about its existence. We were not just a species fighting for survival. We were a civilization capable of transforming warfare itself into an art of constant, unpredictable innovation. The solar system became a canvas of human potential. And the Zarkon discovered, too late, that they had awakened something far more dangerous than a simple military force. They had challenged humanity itself. The silence after the battle was more profound than the conflict itself. Debris from the Zarkon fleet drifted through the solar system, a testament to humanity's unexpected triumph. Major Rebecca Miller stood on an observation deck, watching the remnants of the alien invasion slowly dissipate against the backdrop of Earth and its orbital defenses. Dr. Elizabeth Rodriguez arrived, her technical pad displaying the first comprehensive analysis of the conflict. "The galactic communication networks are already lighting up," she said, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. "We're not just a footnote anymore. We're a headline." The diplomatic fallout was unprecedented. Captured Zarkon communication logs were systematically decoded and distributed across multiple alien communication networks. What the invaders had intended as a simple conquest became a comprehensive case study of human resilience. Colonel James Harrison reviewed the global impact reports. Military installations around the world were transforming. The conflict had accelerated technological development by decades, if not centuries. Every research facility, every military base, now carried the collective memory of humanity's greatest challenge. Dr. Marcus Williams' research teams began the monumental task of studying captured alien technologies. What once seemed incomprehensible now became a roadmap for future human innovation. Quantum communication systems, energy transfer technologies, adaptive computational matrices, all became subjects of intense global research. The United Nations convened a special session that redefined human potential. Representatives from every corner of the globe shared a newfound unity. The invasion had done what decades of diplomacy could not: create a truly global civilization. "We're no longer just defending our planet," Major Miller told the assembled global leaders. "We're preparing to engage with a galactic community that now understands who we are." Dr. Rachel Chen's team began developing communication protocols for potential future extraterrestrial interactions. The lessons learned from the Zarkon invasion would become the foundation of humanity's approach to interstellar diplomacy. Captured Zarkon soldiers became unexpected sources of information. The psychological analysis teams discovered something profound. The invaders were part of a vast galactic political structure that had never encountered a species quite like humanity. They expected a linear response, Dr. Rodriguez explained in a global briefing. Instead, they found a species that turns chaos into opportunity, that finds strength in apparent vulnerability. The economic impact was equally transformative. Technologies developed during the conflict began to reshape human civilization. Adaptive material sciences, quantum communication networks, advanced energy transfer systems, all became available for civilian development. Colonel Harrison oversaw the integration of wartime technologies into peaceful applications. Military research facilities became centers of unprecedented innovation. What had been developed to defend became tools to improve human life. Global communication networks began receiving transmissions from other galactic civilizations. The story of humanity's defense spread faster than any invasion fleet could travel. Each transmission carried a mixture of terror, respect, and an underlying question: who are these humans? Dr. Williams' research teams discovered that the captured alien technologies were more than just weapons. They were keys to understanding fundamental principles of physics, communication, and energy transfer that humanity had only dreamed of exploring. Major Miller understood the deeper significance. This was more than a military victory. It was a declaration of human potential to the universe. The first diplomatic envoys from other galactic civilizations began to arrive. They came not as conquerors, but as students. Humanity had demonstrated something fundamental: that technological superiority meant nothing without the ability to adapt, to create, to transform challenges into opportunities. Dr. Chen's communication research teams developed new protocols for interstellar diplomacy. The lessons learned from the Zarkon invasion would become the foundation of humanity's approach to galactic interactions. "We're not just a species that survived," Major Miller told a gathering of global and emerging extraterrestrial leaders. "We're a civilization that turns conflict into creation." The solar system itself had become a symbol. The remnants of the Zarkon fleet, preserved in orbital museums, became a reminder of humanity's greatest moment. School children would learn not just about the invasion, but about the spirit of human resilience. Colonel Harrison reflected on the transformation. "We didn't just defend our planet," he said. "We redefined what it means to be a spacefaring civilization." As communication networks across the galaxy shared the story of humanity's defense, a new understanding emerged. The Zarkon invasion was not an ending. It was a beginning. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and they had arrived on their own terms. The battle cry still echoed. You asked for combat. Welcome to hell.